3 long days, some I don't know. It takes a little more than what you show, and that's yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Welcome to Bobby Finn Knows Everyone, a Pull Tab Sports production. I am your host, Bobby Finn, born and bred on the St. Paul's East Side, where it was all about looking out for each other, blue-collared hard work, and telling it like it is. And that's what you're going to get on our podcast. There's no BS here. East Side straight talk in a world that's gone a little sideways. Always with me, my host, Tommy Lord.
What's up, Bobby?
How are you?
Doing great.
Sally's on the mic again back there producing. How are you, Sal?
Hey, doing great. Excited for this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Our guest, his name is Jeff Munneke, VP of Fan Experience for the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx, a.k.a. Lake City Larry Bird. How are you, Jeff?
Hey, good to be on with you guys. I don't think I've been called the Lake City Larry Bird. That is a new one, but I'm gonna pull that one into the repertoire.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
I threw that one in there because I did hear you have your way around the court. You like to play, and you kind of show up a lot of people.
Well, I don't know about showing up anybody anymore. That's maybe many eons ago, but I love basketball, love the game of basketball, played basketball through college. So I certainly love the game, watch the game, and talk the game, but I'm not sure if I can play it anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you can. Well, at least we think we can in our heads for sure, because I think I can still play hockey, but that's probably not the case anymore. I'll have a heart attack.
Our buddy Tom Garrity, who obviously owns the Pull Tab Sports, good friends with you, told us as well, you're probably one of the best basketball players he's ever seen play.
Oh my goodness! Wow, guys, the Lake City Larry Bird and this high acclaim of basketball. You know, can I be on every week? My ego is suddenly feeling very, very good. I haven't had this much accolades in a long time, but thank you. That's very nice of you guys.
No.
And the G-Man too.
And the G-Man, yeah. So tell us about growing up in Lake City, and tell us about how you got into basketball and what it was all about down there, because Lake City obviously is the birthplace of water skiing, right?
It is the birthplace of water skiing, and we're big water sports people as well. In fact, my summer job for 5 or 6 summers was working at the Lake City Marina, which is one of the greatest jobs of all time, catering to the boaters and pumping gas and doing all those type of things. And our lunch break, we got to go water skiing. We'd have 45 minutes, and we'd throw on swimsuits really quick, jump out in somebody's boat. Everybody gets a quick run and head back to work. And so we had a lot of water sports activities back in the day too. But we played it and dabbled in a little bit of basketball as well. I was very lucky that my mom and dad, we lived up in Little Falls in the middle of the state, and we moved 9th grade, October of my 9th grade year, which at the time is pretty traumatic, right?
Yeah, it's turmoil.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to play one game as a Little Falls Flyer. And literally the night that I played in that game, we moved to Lake City. So we were moving from one basketball power up in Little Falls in the middle of the state down to Lake City, which is also a power. So I got a little bit lucky in that we had an unbelievable legendary coach there by the name of Jerry Snyder. There's also a pretty good player there that my 9th grade year that ended up having a pretty good career. His name was Randy Brewer. His senior year, I was a 9th grader. So just tell you a little bit about my acumen and my threshold into Lake City is Lake City wins back-to-back state titles, Brew's junior and senior year. I moved to town, get put up in varsity my sophomore, junior, and senior year. We lose to Winona Cotter 3 consecutive years to go to the state tournament. The year after I graduate, Lake City goes back to the state tournament. So it shows the impact that I had on the program.
How's Larry Bird freaking... I mean, we might have to rename you all of a sudden.
I know. Just maybe Larry the Cable Guy from Lake City or something like that. But it was a wonderful place. I got to play all the sports I wanted to play. I ran cross country, played basketball, played baseball.
I know you want to leave some things off camera, Jeff, but this is the best thing about our show. Bobby, give us what was the party like? What was the Rodman party like?
Well, the pre-party, I was with Chris Chelios sitting at the slot machine. And I bought him a tequila, and he was already so wasted that he poured the tequila right in the coin slot.
Oh, my God. Rodman did?
Yeah. No, Chelios.
Chelios.
And I was like, what the? And he had a couple ladies with him. I'm like, my God. Only if I would have tried a little harder. But no, it was great. And then we got asked to go into the party, and I walk in there, and Rodman's singing up on stage with Grand Funk and live, and Carmen Electra's walking by, Lamar Odom walks by. I mean, it was who's who of basketball, and then anybody else that could try to get in there. And somehow I was able to be a part of it until one of my best friends, we had too many of those tequilas, and all of a sudden he went numb, and I had to carry him out of there on my shoulder.
Oh
So,
my goodness!
yeah.
Wow.
So it was
There's a lot of stuff that's left on the cutting room floor from that party.
There's a lot of stuff, absolutely. Yeah, no, it was Rodman. I mean, he was only 6'7", right?
Only.
Yeah, 6'7", 6'8".
But to have that
just
rebound.
Oh my goodness, just ran like a deer. He guarded our very best player, our leading scorer, and completely shut him down. We actually only lost by 7 points. It was a pretty good game, but we had no answer for Rodman, and he played the same way that he did in the NBA, except that he actually shot the ball in college. He actually averaged I think almost 28 points in college, so he could shoot. He just elected not to in the pros, and decided to become probably the greatest defensive player and maybe the greatest rebounder in NBA history. He decided to go down that path, but it was kind of funny. Is I normally never do this, but when he was playing for the Pistons, I figured, you know what, I'm just going to go up and say something to him, just introduce myself, and it was before he kind of went really crazy. But I figured, you know, he's walking off the floor at warm-ups. It's probably not too intrusive at that point. So I just went up and said, you know, hey, Dennis, you know, pleasure to meet you. I'm Jeff Munneke. I actually had the pleasure of playing against you in college. And he kind of looks at me like, who'd you play for? So I told him, I told him, and he goes, well, we beat you. And I said, yeah, you got us by 7. I said, we held you down, though. We held you to 38 and 26. And he's kind of like, you held me down, huh? And but the amazing thing about Rodman was the next game to go to the Final Four, he had 51. And so this is a guy that in the NBA wouldn't shoot the ball. He can shoot it. You know, it just shows that level in the NBA. It's several levels above where I was playing.
Well, talk about role player too, right? He accepted his role. He knew what he was supposed to do to make the team the best team they could be, and he was cool with it. I mean, he's fine with being the rebounder that could show up when he wanted to show up. Hey, I'm partying this day, so I'm not coming. But
you know, and when if you look at The Last Dance, you know, Jordan's documentary that came out during COVID, he's prominently featured in episode 3, and you kind of forget or didn't hear about these stories where he leaves during the NBA Finals to go to All-Star Wrestling and is actually on the mat. You know, like, what in the world? Like, how does Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson allow that? But they did. They just knew that he needed some type of release, and we'll let him do it, and he'll come back and he'll be just fine. But yeah, it's lots of stories there. Yeah, your story of the party just being there, I'm sure, is
it was insanity.
Going to be in lore forever.
Yeah, absolutely, it was insanity. But well, very cool. And so tell us about, you know, you're what, 3rd or 4th hire overall for the Timberwolves?
Yeah, so I was definitely up there. So right out of school, I got very lucky that a gentleman to help recruit me to play basketball in South Dakota got named general manager of the Minnesota Strikers, which I'm dating myself here a little bit, but that's the old indoor soccer team that played at Met Center way back in the day, which is where Mall of America sits today. Yeah. So that was my first job in the sports industry, cutting my teeth there, and I sold season tickets and group tickets. I didn't have any clue what I was doing. You know, I was 21 and just trying to figure out life as much as anything, right? Worked there for 1 year, and then I went through the application process. Again, I got very lucky because of a relationship. Tim Leiweke, you know, one of the greatest sports marketing people ever in the history of all sports, came from soccer. He was our vice president of sales and service. So when my resume came through, it's one of 3,000 resumes. He probably looked at this as, okay, here's a basketball guy that's selling soccer. You know, maybe we should give him an interview. So I was fortunate enough to work my way through the interview process and be one of 9 sales reps in a total of 35 total people that were hired from day one. That included basketball operations. So yeah, I was definitely up there, one of the top few that was hired, and I'm the only one left after 36 years now, which is pretty amazing.
That is pretty cool. Joe said he left last year, right? I mean, he started out as a towel boy. Joe Lieski,
yeah. So Jovi, it's an amazing story. Obviously, he had he had other gigs too, important gigs, that he's doing. But his game nights, he worked opposing locker room for years, along with his good buddy Q. And those guys, in fact, I try to go back and talk to those guys about every other week. And we had a running list of, all right, who are the best guys to deal with and who are the guys that maybe aren't so good to deal with. And we had a running list of that for 20 plus years. And we'd always talk about those different stories. And they talk about, in fact, it's kind of funny. People always say, with all these crazy stories you have, you should write a book.
Yeah.
And I always say, we're long past a book. We could have a whole Netflix series here, easy. But many chapters of that would have to come from Jovi and Q for all their stories back behind the scenes. They got some good ones.
Oh my God. Some of the stories that he told me, I was like, holy God. Then he goes out and scores 37 points after some crazy thing, right? But
yeah, for sure. They're superhuman.
Are you referring to a little J.R. Ryder story?
Yeah, but you can't be telling that story.
Can't be telling those stories way back.
This is off script.
Right. Jeff, so before we get into the current T-Wolves, do you have any favorite stories? You got anything, whether it was a little crunch story or any favorite players or moments you remember?
Oh man, I get asked that question a lot. I think all my favorites are all the firsts that happened. The first day I got hired, the first day we won a game, our first game in history, where nobody had their tickets in time, and we had 36,000 people going through will call, and in typical Minnesota fashion, everybody shows up right before the tip. So we had about 30 of the 36,000 waiting outside the Metrodome, waiting to get in to pick up their tickets, and that was the Los Angeles Lakers, Magic Johnson,
Wow.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, etc., all waiting to come in, and that was crazy.
I was there that day.
The very first game was at the Dome, right?
Yeah,
I was there.
Were you at the?
Yeah,
for the
I was
Lakers
at the
game?
inaugural game. I was dating this girl, and I said, I'm going to bring her brother just to try to get in more with her. So I brought her
Good
brother
play.
to it. Yeah, it was.
Did it work?
Well, I hope I didn't ruin your date by having you stay outside in a will call line for 3 hours in the freezing cold, but I'm guessing that was probably the case.
I had to shelter her little brother, so she loved me.
Oh, good. Well, it's just all those firsts. The first time we win a game, the first time we go to the playoffs, first time we win in the playoffs. All those firsts are the most memorable for me, of course. And then just all the relationships. We've worked with so many great people and fun people and really fun players and guys that I still keep in contact with to this day. Mark Madsen, Fred Hoiberg, Scotty Brooks, Tony Campbell. Some of the guys that are coaches we see come through all the time, and we always end up telling all kinds of crazy stories. So those are always the most memorable for me.
That's fantastic.
You don't want to share the story when Crunch hooked up with a cheerleader in the locker room, huh? Okay, fine. You don't have to do that. I think that was actually at the an All-Star game, that rumor, that story.
As you can see my face, I'm just saying, keep going. Onward.
So just to give you a little insight, Tom was...
I will say this.
Yeah.
Before Bobby tries to blow my cover. He's going to try to blow my cover. I worked with Crunch for the T-Wolves probably like 95 to 98 maybe. John Kudo. I'll out John Kudo because Kudo he's gone on to bigger, better things since then. And I may or may not have been the first hoop man where the hoop on the back, and you raise it's like a little slider thing.
Wow.
The hoop goes up. Yep. So I think it was Ryan Lefevre. Was he the... LaFrance? Lefevre? What was
Lefevre?
Jason
Yeah.
LaFrance.
Jason LaFrance. Yeah. So
Jason LaFrance.
I worked there a couple of years with the T-Wolves and got to hang out down and I helped out Crunch and move mats around and stuff. And he would dress me up like a Milwaukee Buck and then like duct tape me and put me up in the stands and let people beat up on me and things like that.
All the fan skits are the best. One of my favorites when you talk of favorite memories is when we made the playoffs for the first time. We're playing the Houston Rockets, and it's Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, Clyde Drexler, all those guys. And if you recall, we decided that we're going to have Jesse Ventura repel out of the ceiling. This is before you could no longer do that. So we have Jesse coming down the rope right in front of the Rockets bench. And it was absolutely classic. I was standing kind of over in the corner watching this whole thing. And we got Jesse coming down, and then he jumps out of the rope, and then he takes his jean jacket, rips it off, and he's yelling at the Rockets like, "You want it? You want these lateral deltoids? You want these biceps sparkly? Come for if you want the Timberwolves, you got to come through me." So he's just talking trash to the Rockets. The Rockets are dying laughing. Barkley's practically on the floor. Then we had one of our interns, a gentleman by the name of Dan Hoagland, who's about 6'8", big guy, former basketball player. We had him pretend that he is the drunk Rockets fan while Jesse is addressing the Rockets bench, right? So we have Dan kind of saunter on the court with his Rockets jersey and a Rockets pennant and a Rockets hat. And then we had it timed out. So just as Jesse's trash talking to the Rockets, he turns around and sees the Rocket fan and then clotheslines him. And Dan did one of the greatest dives of all time, hit the floor. I mean, 19,000 people going crazy. Rockets are dying laughing, and that's a good memory.
Oh, that's great.
So that might as well segue into this. So I hear that the halftime shows are one of your favorite things.
Oh, I love the halftime shows. There's so many iconic performers that have came through, and one of my favorite things I do when I take season ticket members out for lunch, oftentimes we're taking 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 season ticket members out for lunch just to develop relationships with them and trade stories. And one of my pet things I always ask is, all right, who's everybody's favorite halftime performers? And oh my goodness, I mean, we've had so many great ones, some that are still going, some that are no longer. And it's great discussion. It gets everybody talking. And we had one of the most iconic performers here a couple nights ago, Red Panda.
Yep, Red Panda, my favorite.
The Panda is the greatest. And
she's been doing it since I was working there in the 90s. I mean, she was...
Right.
Talk about fourth ever employee. She must have been right up there with you.
Oh, it's amazing. And so every time when she comes through, I go back and we just chat for a little bit. I say hello and just how excited we are to have her there. I totally jinxed her, however. I figured it out. I've seen her 53 times, which includes 35 years of Timberwolves games, plus a number of Gopher games and other events, Final Fours, that type of thing. I've seen her. And I'd only seen her drop the Bulls once.
Will you explain it real quick? Will you explain what she does for our listeners who maybe don't know who Red Panda is?
So the Red Panda is she rides about a 10-foot high unicycle, balances with one foot on the unicycle, and with the other foot, if you can imagine this, she has a number of bowls that are sitting on the top of her toes that she kicks onto her head and stays on top of her head.
Oh my God.
It's one of the greatest. Yeah, you're acting it out. It's awesome. I love that. It's unbelievable. Like, number one, how do you decide that I'm going to ride a 10-foot unicycle and kick bowls in your head? I mean, well, what's that decision process like? But she's iconic, and so I feel like jinxed her because we have a number of new staff members that had never seen her before that just started with us this year. So before the game, I'm playing her up. I'm like, you guys, if you have a chance at halftime, got to go and watch Red Panda. She's unbelievable. You won't believe how awesome this is, and her crowd will go nuts. And so I jinxed her. She dropped 2 bowls. So after all these years, I was like, no, I can't believe it. And so I think some of the new staff were like, that's pretty awesome, but she dropped 2 bowls. What are you talking about? But man, there's so many great acts that have came through the course of time. Back in the day, do you remember the Alexis brothers?
Oh yeah.
Quick Change. There's Christopher, the guy who danced with the 5 mannequins. That's one of my favorites of all time. Well, in fact, if you remember Christopher, I was standing in the entryway, one of our tunnels, and I was standing next to Sid Hartman when Christopher was performing. And so, for the listeners, Christopher had these sticks that would attach himself to 5 mannequins, all dressed either the same or as the Village People or other musical acts. And I'm sitting there, we're watching, and it's amazing. You got to look him up on YouTube. And Sid goes, "Man, these guys are amazing."
These guys are amazing. That's freaking hilarious.
Real.
They're so in sync.
That's
it's
so
great.
good.
It's absolutely great.
Do you have a who are the top three you get most excited about? Because you bring them back mostly every year, like the same kind of crew, right? Or are there ones in the past too? Like I remember the Bud Light Daredevils, the dunk team, and
Yeah, those guys were good.
Yeah.
Lexus brothers are always amazing to me. Quick change. Nobody could figure out how they were doing it. I actually went up in the rafters a few times. I'm like, I gotta figure out how they do this, and it would happen so quick. You couldn't quite see how they're doing it, but that was amazing. Rubber Boy was kind of a guilty pleasure. He was the guy that had with all his joints. He could. I mean, it was one of those things where you put your fingers to your face and like, I can't look, but then you have to look. Just morbid curiosity. But he would contort himself through a tennis racket, a toilet seat. He arrived, if you remember, in a suitcase, and he'd pop open and he'd contort himself into all these different, just like a human pretzel. He was always great. The amazing Slottick is the guy who stacks all the chairs up near the scoreboard, up about, I don't know, 75, 80 feet in the air, and balances himself up there on the chairs. That just makes my palms sweat. Even just talking about it right now is giving me anxiety. They're all great. I love Christopher. Christopher was awesome. Jesse White tumblers, remember those guys from Chicago?
no,
They would leap over. It was kind of like Evel Knievel jumping over buses. They would jump over people. They were great. Fargo Acro tumbling team was always awesome.
Oh, I remember the Fargo team. Yep, just
Yeah.
like a mom and pop place that just
So great.
these
Yeah.
young kids just.
I had a friend in high school that was on that team.
Oh, with the tumblers,
Yep.
they're incredible.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. So yeah, those are kind of some of my favorites.
All right.
So Jeff, we just had on another podcast. We just had John B, the MC.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
MC John. Sure.
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was great. He
He's
really
awesome.
was.
He's great.
Yeah.
Bobby, are you mad that Rubber Boy stole your moniker from ninth grade?
No, I didn't use any.
Jesus. I don't know,
Yeah,
you're going
You
he-
there.
can't
is-
set
is-
me up like that.
I got to think that he's going to have some severe arthritis if he's double jointed in every joint of
Lucky.
his body. I mean, he's going to be hurting down the way.
It's so good.
Yeah, so let's get back to the hype, I guess, huh?
Well, hold on. Before we
All
go to
right.
the hype, let's do a couple. Let's thank our sponsors a little bit.
Let's thank our sponsors.
I'll thank Jimmy Salad Dressings and Dips because it is dip season, and you're watching the Timberwolves, you're watching playoffs, you're watching NHL playoffs. You know, get into those dips because Jimmy's makes the greatest dips, and they're good for you because they're made with great products, and it's refrigerated at Cub Foods, and you know it's good when it's refrigerated because they're using the grade A dairy products. No, sorry, I gotta go. You know it's good for you because they're using the best ingredients. So check out Jimmy Salad Dressings and Dips, and like Bobby always says,
Don't be messing with the dressing.
all right, baby. Who else you got?
I got Stoli.
Oh, thanks.
Who doesn't
Stoli.
like Stoli? Talking to my buddy who's the regional guy for Stoli, and going to the Timberwolves game last week, and he's like, I said, "You gonna have some Stoli sodas?" He says, "Absolutely, gonna get after it here."
They got Stoli at
They-
Target Center.
They got Stoli.
Nice. All right.
Well, who doesn't have
Right.
Stoli? If you don't have Stoli, get Stoli.
Get out if
'Cause
you don't have Stoli.
I've made the changeover.
Tito's are like Gerbos, Jeff. If you want Tito's, you might as well put your Gerbos back on.
Yeah, old school
Because
generic.
Stoli sodas are the way to go. So Stoli, go get it.
Thank you,
Duly
Stoli.
noted.
Thank you,
Duly
Stoli.
noted.
But yes, so love our sponsors. Thank you, sponsors. And let's have some fun.
Yeah, hey, and go out there and get some from our sponsors because that's what's helping us with the podcast, and we appreciate them, and we appreciate the listeners too. All right, now let's get into it. Okay, we're gonna get into the. You ready? Okay, Jeff, you've been there for how many years? at the
36
T-Wolves?
years, 35 seasons. How about that?
Wow.
How are you feeling right now about the squad, about the hype, about the pride that Minnesota has for the team? And I know there's a lot of bandwagon people, not Bobby and I. We've been with that team.
Oh yeah,
forever.
we never say anything
Well,
bad.
appreciate that.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
great. No, it's awesome. Like before we came on here, I was just saying when the team wins, hot dogs taste better and the beer gets colder, right?
Yeah.
And everything just works better. But I could not be more excited for our fans. Our fans deserve this. We are due. Even though we've made the playoffs the last couple of years, we just didn't quite advance. Even though we were kind of knocking on the door a little bit with Denver last year, and played well against Denver. I just feel so good all year long. It's just been this love fest with the team, with Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid, and how much gear we're selling and how much gear people are wearing, and for a number of years. And we get it. There's a lot of LeBron jerseys and Curry jerseys and Kobe jerseys, and now it's just a sea of blue and white and green and all our Timberwolf colors. And man, it's fun. When people are coming in the building already howling like wolves at 6:15 for a 7 o'clock tip, it's going to be a good night. And I think our Target Center has become one of the hardest places to play in the league. It's so loud, and the action, the fans are right on top of the action, and I think our players feed off that. So it's been fun. We can't wait till we have these home games next week against Denver, and I think we feel we match up pretty well with them. So it should be a fun playoff series.
Yeah, I think you match up well against anyone because, to me, obviously you have the new face of the NBA, which is unbelievable because that series not only put him on the map, but put him at the top of the map. I mean, he's the man. He has everything. I mean, he's a good-looking dude. He's got so much charisma. He's got everything. He plays defense. I mean, just he gets his teammates involved. And when we talked on Saturday, I said, you may not. You said you may not make it on Tuesday because you might have to play. I said, there's no way you're going to play. I mean, you got Ant, but you have a team. And I said, the defense, the attitude, and the camaraderie of that team is nothing like I've seen in the history of the Timberwolves. They've had great teams at times, but not like this. You have such a deep bench, and everybody's cool with it. When you got Karl Anthony Towns accepting the role he has and understanding to be better for the team, it's awesome. I mean, it makes that team.
No doubt. And even last year, I think, I'm not saying that we're going to be right where we are today, but I think even last year after the trades, we're getting beat up a little bit, and people are a little frustrated about, did we give up too much for Rudy, that type of thing. And internally, there was no panic. Everybody's feeling really good. In fact, we'd be at all staff meetings, and Tim Connolly and the coaching staff would just say, guys, we're going to be okay. Rudy is hurt coming over from Eurobasket right off the bat. Karl was sick, then he got hurt. We were never complete last year until late in the season and into the playoffs. And I think people started to see that, you know what? Okay, this is starting to happen. And this year it just took off because we were relatively healthy. Karl had the one injury, after the midseason point. But the camaraderie that Tim Connolly has put together, I mean, our guys love each other, and you can see it. You can see how they encourage each other, and nobody gets down. Nobody's arguing on the court. It's very constructive. There's an incredible vibe. I think when you have your star player that always defers and always talks about the other guys. So, case in point, the other night, Ant gets interviewed by, I think it's TNT. They're saying, well, Anthony had 33 points, and, unbelievable, or 40 points. You're unbelievable. He's like, oh man, we didn't win that game without Mike moving the ball, or without not playing great defense on Booker, or he's always talking about everybody else, and the team picks up on that. And I think that's just such a cool trait. And obviously, he is really good. He's got a chance to be the guy.
Well, right. I mean, like we were talking earlier.
They were saying it on ESPN as Stephen A. Smith, who said, literally, there's MJ, there's Kobe, we've got the next one in Anthony Edwards, and that's how good he is. He's the face of the NBA. He's that shooting guard that everybody loves to watch, and he's a leader. He's knocking them down. He's playing D, and like you're saying, like on the getting interviewed, him and Kat were doing an interview the other day. It wasn't on. It must have been on like a little sub channel. I saw it on Instagram.
That mother effer.
Yeah,
he just got to stay out of foul trouble.
He was stay out of foul trouble. And then Kat makes a little bit of excuse, like, "Hey man, I'm playing defense." He's like, "Just don't do fouls, dude. Just don't make fouls." How do you guys like in your role too? Let me ask you this, a little off the cuff, but like, how do you feel about like, them kind of like ribbing each other, the swearing, I think fans accept it. They just know, like, they appreciate the authenticity. Does it make you guys nervous, front office? Like, be careful what you say, because the kids used to get coached so much. But how do you take that?
It's very organic. It's very authentic. And I think, excuse me, I think fans like that. I think, obviously, if you're from in your PR book, obviously you don't want to go too crazy with words and phrases and that type of thing. But at the same point, people, I think, see he's very genuine, and he wants to compete. I think he had the quote the other day. He says, "I just want to kill everybody in front of me," which means he's an assassin on the court. But he does it with kind of a smile, and he does it with it's very disarming, and he does that with his teammates too. But we also have just good guys. Everybody's just a good person, and I'll go play golf with Karl Towns occasionally, and he's just a fun guy. He just I think we as an organization are so proud of him. He's had to adjust his game again and again and again and again. I think he's had 5 coaches, several general managers. He's had injuries. He's had some family situations that came through. He's had this COVID situation. And he just keeps readjusting and reinventing himself where he doesn't have to be the guy that's carrying us, because he sees that we got a guy that's going to do that and plays his role. I thought he played unbelievable the other night. So
do you think he gets a bad rap, Cat?
I think so. I think, those it was unfortunate because when you come out as the number 1 pick, expectations are sky high. And when we started down the path with Wiggins and Karl and Zach LaVine, I think we felt internally, wow, I mean, we got a chance here. And then some changes were made, and then some veterans were brought in. One veteran was brought in that didn't quite work out so well, and I think it was just not cohesive with what the guys were trying to do together. And I think he tried to adjust and did some things and just said, I'm here just to win. I just want to win. And I think he's being proven out now that that's the case. He just wants to win, and he loves it here. How many times do you have your star players say, I want to be here. I like it here. I like coming here. I like being here in the summer. I like being here in the winter. I don't love the cold, but I'm okay with it. It's good.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that segues into what we were talking about earlier about being in Minnesota. It is flyover country, right? Superstars a lot of times don't want to be here. But that team, it seems like they're all cool. They're all happy. They all want to be here. They want to be a part of this legacy that they're building. And Cat to do what he's doing. And is it okay if I call him Karl Towns? Because
sure.
Karl
Towns.
Karl Towns.
I call him Karl Towns. But yeah, I mean, the vibe is obviously off the charts right now, and especially with, you got Naz Reid, who's kind of like a cult hero right now. I mean, people got his towels up in the stands. They got his towels all over the place. It's a pretty cool vibe for your team.
It's funny with when we did the Naz towel, I said, I think this is going to become like, remember Flat Stanley when we were in elementary school?
Yes.
Where you brought Flat Stanley up to your cabin or on vacations to Black Hills or whatever it may be. The Naz Reid towel is going to be the Flat Stanley of beaches. I think everybody is going to have that Naz Reid towel on a beach all throughout the country.
There's one in my office. And literally there's one in my office where I work, and I was like, he's got his own towel? I was like, what's going on with this? Not every player has their own towel. I had to put 2 and 2 together. I was like, what's the deal? That's great. What a following he has. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's iconic, and it was really fun this last year. So one of the things I do on road games is I post a photo of an old school item, a trip down memory lane per se, or a nostalgic item or a piece of gear, whatever it may be. And so people just love that stuff. They love those trips down memory lane. So I sat down with the marketing staff at the end of the year, and this being our 35th season, we just talked through like, what would be some good items to bring back, and that might be kind of fun. So there was a towel that we did a number of years ago. It wasn't a player towel, but it's just like, God, that might be kind of cool if we did a towel, and maybe it'd even be better if we put a player on it. Well, Naz Reid being the icon that he is, and people, just love him, that obviously became an easy choice. And it exceeded all our expectations of how wild this has become, with everybody waving the towels when he was going nuts during the game on Naz Reid towel night. And now we're seeing these photos, like I said, kind of like the Flat Stanley on every beach around the country. It's awesome.
I love it.
That is cool. Okay, so let me get this. Okay, so there's this guy that shows up down in Phoenix, and he has the lime green outfit on and with the wolf head on.
Did you see that guy? He had the wolf.
I did see that guy.
gloves.
Yeah.
He came from, where'd he come, like Tennessee or something.
People were high-fiving him.
And he's like, now he's like just guy. And people think that you're planting this guy. I don't think you did. But
He did not. It's very organic. But now what's funny is everybody's saying, you got to get him tickets to come up to Minneapolis. And so I actually followed him on social media today, and he followed me back. So we're going to try to create a little dialogue. See
Oh,
what's
that's
going
great.
Funny enough, we got him right here. Come on out. It's the wolf man.
On. I love it. I love it.
I thought we had him. No?
Oh, gosh. Wait, he's not here?
Well, that's the fun part about what's going on with the team right now is that's happening all around the country. And we're getting all these people coming to our games from Spain, from England, from Australia, from Morocco, all these places, and they'll let us know when they're coming, and we'll try to do something really cool for them and fun for them just to give them a great experience. But this has really taken off to the next level. I mean, we saw this fandom coming a little bit, but this has exceeded our expectations again. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ricky Rubio is coming?
Jeff, what do you have for three guys coming from Stillwater, Minnesota, the next playoff game? I heard like courtside. Is
Right
that
behind
is
A-Rod.
that a rumor?
Yeah, those feet on the wood, down there banging a program on the court. Absolutely.
Should we talk about that a little bit, Jeff? I kind of think they got to move the seats back a little bit, right? And you've been there, for a long time. You've watched more basketball than anybody in the studio. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more. We're talking about the coach getting ran into, or a player getting run into, or a player interfering, or a fan jumping on, or I mean, as you're talking to a couple hockey guys here, are used to like sitting behind glass and behind boards. But what are your thoughts on that? And maybe, I'm not saying you're pushing the NBA one way or the other, but does it feel like it's a little bit too much of an intimate experience?
I mean, I'm surprised that there has not been more major injuries to either a player or a fan. Can you imagine Shaq trying to save a ball, or Yao Ming trying to save a ball on the baseline, and you're on the baseline and he's coming right through you? I mean, that's going to sting a little bit, so it's not only that, but on the flip side, there is nothing like NBA basketball up close like that. There's nothing like it. And so obviously when you're down closer, of course, you're paying, a pretty good premium, and you're paying for that cost to be close, where you can hear the voices and you can hear, the conversations between the referees and the players, or coaches and players, or coaches and referees. You're paying for that premium. I don't think there's anything like it in sports where, hockey, like you said, you're behind the boards. Football, you're quite a distance away. Baseball, you're pretty far distance away. Soccer is a little bit, you get a little closer to the pitch, I suppose, but there's nothing like those seats in basketball. And I think that's what makes those fans that sit down there really enjoy that experience, because you are part of the game. And in every arena around the country, everybody's got that fan that everybody knows, right?
Yeah.
Or those fans that everybody knows. So that's a big part of it, and that becomes a part of the culture too in the NBA. Everybody knows who that person is.
Yeah, what's the super fan that bangs the
the
program?
paper on the freaking ground.
Yeah, I forget his
Bill,
name. He was actually an uncle of a buddy of mine.
He's a great guy. He has not been a season ticket member for a little bit, but it's kind of funny. When I used to give tours to people, he would crouch in the catcher stance. He'd never sit in the seat, and he'd oftentimes bring underprivileged kids to the games with him, and provide all these cool opportunities for kids. And sometimes his family come with too, but he'd be in the catcher's stance with his dress shoes and banging the program on the court. He would oftentimes chip paint off the court. So whenever I'd give tours, we'd walk to the spot where it was, and the paint was always chipped off in that area where he crouched. It's kind of funny.
He had a pretty intimate relationship with Garnett. I mean, that was Garnett's guy to go to before the game.
Yeah, so he's very close to a lot of players. He did a lot of really nice things for the organization from a charitable standpoint, between our foundation and our Taste of Timberwolf events, and the different outreach in the community. He is very involved with that. My favorite moment with Bill was when the late Malik Sealy hit the game-winning shot against the Indiana Pacers, banked in a shot right in front of where Bill was sitting or crouching. If you look at the YouTube clip of that, look in the pile, all the players in the pile, Bill's at the bottom of the pile on top of Malik. It's one of the greatest moments of all time.
That's awesome.
Pull that up. I love it.
So what was it like working with Tom Garrity?
The G-Man. The G-Man. Obviously, you guys got great ties with the G-Man, so he and I go way back. And so what's funny is I first got to know him when I was with the Timberwolves. He was with the North Stars. And so the North Star sales staff and the Timberwolves sales staff, we oftentimes ended up at similar events, where you're selling tickets. And that's where we became friends. And when the North Stars ended up moving to Dallas, he went down to Dallas for a brief moment, but then we were able to bring him back, and he joined our staff on our sales team for a little bit. And one of the great characters of all time, a dear friend. Like I mentioned, our kids were both involved in golf, and so that was a fun connection. And obviously, he's done quite well with all his businesses, and it's just iconic. And every time we get together, it's going to be a funny conversation, that's for sure.
So he's the Prairie Duchesne Pete Maravich.
Oh, okay. Larry Bird, Lake City, and Prairie Duchesne, Pete Maravich.
That's
okay,
it. That's
all right.
it. Yeah.
Okay, this is good.
Lots of icons down there in southeast Minnesota and southwest Wisconsin. Absolutely, but no, TG's a great dude, and obviously you work with Joe Lieski too, and the Juice, as we called him back in the day. He was great.
Wait, so what does the Juice mean? Is there a reference, or is that just a nickname that somehow get passed
I'm
along?
not quite sure if you know, but Joe liked to gamble a little bit.
Okay.
So he'd always lose the Juice back in the day. So
Okay.
the Juice,
Noted.
yeah. But
Noted. He's got a new name.
yeah, he is a good dude, a really, really good dude. He was a good friend of mine, or he still is.
Great dude. Yes, great dude.
But that's great. That's great.
Jeff, something we always do on the show, we have a couple different segments, and one is called the Bobby Finn Bar Review, which we'll get to. I think we always do the Den Heads Dick of the Week as well. Bobby thinks it should go to Devin Booker because he basically pushed Connolly into coach.
Well, I think
right?
it was more than that. I thought Devin Booker, as great a player as he is, I thought he was salty because Jaden McDaniels is a badass, and he couldn't shake him for the most part until the refs kept letting him. He thought he was Moses parting the sea, but he elbowed McDaniels in the stomach. Threw. Why am I drawing a blank? Who's the point guard? Pushed him in.
Mike Conley?
Pushed Connolly into
Coach.
Finchie, and just the whole game, he seemed kind of salty. Like he knew they were going to lose, but.
He was the villain.
He was the villain,
and he's our dick of the week. Bobby always has a saying: "Be a good person, do good things, don't be a dick." So he's our don't be a dick of the week. Don't be like Devin Booker.
Dick of the week. Yep.
Okay.
Mine would probably side with a different sport. I'm going to go with anybody who's on Live Golf. How's that for you?
I'm so with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're
So
all
with
on
you.
Live Golf, aren't
Yeah.
they? Jeez.
I mean, they might as well get their money, but I hate it.
Yeah.
They're wrecking the PGA
Not a fan.
and golf in general.
I had the opportunity to attend the Masters for the first time this last year, and you could definitely feel the tension there, not only with the fans but the golfers. I picked up the tension there a little bit. And Rory McIlroy is my favorite athlete of all time, so I'm very pro PGA Tour. Rory McIlroy, Scheffler, Max Homa, all as you talked about, be a good guy. Those guys are all great dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Max Homa seems like a really good dude as
Right.
well. Yeah.
You always have your foursome that you'd want to play with, and one of my staples is
Me and Bobby.
besides you and Bobby, if one of you can't make it, is Freddie Couples, and now I've added Max Homa. That dude is he looks like so down to earth and keeps it real and has fun.
He's joining Live Golf next month.
No, better not.
Just offered him.
Going for the bag of cash.
All right, Bobby, we have to get to your bar review.
Got to get to the bar
Do you
review.
have one
we're
in
gonna
mind?
we're gonna go with the Dugout.
The Dugout. Where is
Yeah.
the Dugout? Tell us about it.
Dugout is in Willerny. A lot of people think it's Maplewood, or not Maplewood. Matamidi, but it's actually a little town called Willerny.
Okay. Yep.
They have live bands quite a bit there, and great service, great food, lots of TVs.
Yep.
It's a good place to go to. So, yeah.
A lot of bands. Yep. Good JMO Gingers.
JMO Gingers are very nice.
I'm going to tell you a little story about what happened after we drank JMO Gingers at the Dugout. But first, I need to know if they have a good atmosphere. What do you got out of town?
Atmosphere is solid. Very, very solid.
Okay. Are you like a
Very quaint little area
Quaint?
where you watch all the games. They got a lot of TVs.
It's a good bar
Food's
spot,
right.
right?
It's a great bar spot.
Yeah.
Great bar spot.
Brought the wife there with Waldo the other day. We sat on the patio.
I've never sat on the patio.
Yep, we each got 2 drinks each, and we sat on the patio, and it was nice. And the wives came and joined us, and they liked it.
It must be
So
a nice
what would
place.
you give them out of 10?
For the atmosphere,
Yeah.
I give them a 8.9.
Ooh, okay. And then service, what'd you think of that?
Service was
bartender
yeah,
pretty
the
nice.
bartender was great.
Yeah.
Say 9.2.
Oh man, Jeff, hold on here. Okay, food.
Food is very good. Yeah,
never
very
gotten
good.
food there.
Yeah, the burgers are exquisite, which I don't know if I've said
Exquisite burgers, Jeff. This is
I've
a
never
Willerny
heard of-
bar on the east side
I've
of
never
town.
heard of burger or a
An
bad burger.
exquisite
but-
burger.
So I'm going to say a 9.1 on the food.
Ooh, this is a high score.
And then, Bobby, do they have, what's the thing you do at a bar? You have booze. What do they got for the
Booze is a
drinks?
9.4.
A 9.4.
Do they have Stoli?
They have Stoli.
They
and
have
that
Stoli.
was-
So check mark on the Stoli. Do they have touch tunes?
They have touch tunes.
Okay? They have pull tabs.
Pull tabs, yes.
Do they have? What am I missing?
Golden tea.
Golden tea.
They do.
Ooh.
They have all 4. That makes it a great bar in our minds, Jeff. They've got all 4. They got the
I love this
quadruple.
criteria.
Yeah, the
Banger.
trifecta.
So that's a very high score. I'm looking at about a 9.1, maybe 9.2.
9.1, 9.2. Yeah, absolutely. Head to the Dugout, watch a band, get a burger, and enjoy it.
So Bobby and I, we were coming home. I think I was coming home from work. He was coming back from a baseball game, and he said, "Hey, where you at?" I go, "I'm just driving home." He goes, "Let's meet at the Dugout."
You said that. Don't get me in trouble.
Had a couple drinks, right? Had a few. Nothing crazy. I had gone earlier in the day to buy my son a birthday present, and get home. And the next day, my wife's like, "Where did you put your son's birthday present?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You hid it. Remember, you hid it." So he went and find it. I go, "Oh yeah, I hid it." She's like, "Okay, go grab it. I need to wrap it." It was like Easter morning. I was looking for the basket everywhere. She's like, "Honey, you were in the garage." I go, "I know it was in the garage." She's like, "Hey, then go grab it." I tore the garage apart. I looked in all of our cars. I looked up top. I looked in the. I looked in my hockey bag. Someone ever told me, like, if you need to hide something, put it in your hockey bag because nobody will ever find it in your stinky hockey bag. Wasn't there. Upstairs, down. It literally, I was like a kid on Easter morning. My wife's like, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, "I was with Bobby at the Dugout."
Where'd you find it?
It was in the kitchen on a chair, a chair, like pushed in chair like that. And I saw the little handle like peeking out the top. Hopefully my wife doesn't listen to this because I was
I
not.
think you should change the story that the present was left at the dugout.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Brought it in with them. Brought a pony in the dugout with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta ask you about one Stillwater bar, No Neck Tony's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The one downtown?
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. So our son and now our daughter-in-law were married in downtown Stillwater, and we spent some time at No Neck Tony's and had a great time. Absolutely great time.
It's a really good spot. It really gets fired up about 10 o'clock.
Yeah, but I don't
we found
ever
that.
remember that then.
Yeah. It's
We
just a
found that
tiny
to be the
place.
case.
Yeah, just a tiny place. Big, strong drinks, heavy glass, really heavy glass.
Not if you're there after 10 o'clock.
Oh, and if you're there after 10 o'clock, then they give you the crap glasses. But
Yeah.
but if you're grandfathered in late at night, they'll keep giving you your glass.
That's right.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we
really good
We
spot.
plugged in the tunes. We had the touch tunes. We had it going. We made our own dance party in there. It was wonderful.
That's
Oh,
great.
God, that's so good.
That's our, I guess we know where our next bar review is going, Jeff.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
We're going to have to tell him you sent us.
You have to join us so we get an accurate reading here.
Very good. I love it.
Yeah. But
Jeff, yeah, what do you think about this will come out in probably a couple days from now, right when the next series starts with
Denver.
the hated Denver Nuggets. What are you thinking here? Give us your prediction.
I'm feeling good. I feel good about the matchup. I think our home court is going to bring us home, and I think we're going to can maybe steal one in Denver. I feel good. I think we're going to advance. It's going to be good.
I think the depth we have, they have good depth too, but I think the depth we have, and I think, like I said, just the whole atmosphere of that team right now is better than I've ever seen. And that's KG was such a phenomenal player, and he was such a great leader. But I've never seen a team play together like this team is.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And I think the national narrative is just in the couple of days has started to slide much more than it used to be. And I think there's been this coming out party for Ant, and actually coming out party for the team too, where a lot of people, we're kind of under the radar for a good part of the season, even though we're in first place for most of the season. A lot of the chatter was about the Lakers or the Warriors or Phoenix, etc. But I think, man, there's this kind of huge change in the guard with a lot of the young teams. Oklahoma City, us, Dallas, Boston's still up there, of course. They're a great team, but it's kind of fun.
It's a ton of fun, man. Everybody's hyped. It's given us an awesome spring. We love it.
Well, that kind of gets us too. I mean, Minnesota, like I said, is flyover country. The national media focuses on the big teams, right? The big names, big cities. They're not celebrating the Wolves like they should. What happened to Phoenix? Like, give me a break. Can you just focus on the positive? I should say the national media is the dick of the week. I mean, give me a break. I mean, enjoy this team that we have. And, how much fun they're having.
Give us a little bit of credibility.
Yeah. The Lakers get smoked, and they talk about the Lakers.
Oh, my God. What's LeBron going to do? I don't give a shit.
It's over. Yeah, their season's over.
I think we have a chance here. And we have to keep tabs on Oklahoma City, who are in our division. Denver, obviously, they're a younger team. They're in their division. Memphis gets Ja Morant back next year. Victor's at San Antonio. The West is going to be nasty for a long time.
Yeah,
absolutely loaded.
Yep.
I feel good. We feel good.
Good.
No, Jeff, thanks for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure meeting you. And obviously you got a lot going on right now. So coming on here, spending some time, being the Lake City Larry Bird, it's been great having you, and I can't wait to meet you in person, and it's going to be fun.
My pleasure, guys. Good to chat with you guys, and a lot of fun stories, and we'll do it anytime. We'll talk to you guys soon. Go Wolves. All
right. Go Wolves. See you, buddy. Take care.
See you guys.
Yeah. So anyways, we talked about dent heads. I did bring my son's car to dent heads last week. He had a baseball dent in it. Took him about 2 hours. Made it perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you got a dent in your car, go get him. I know it's a little late, but go to Dent Heads, man. These guys do a great job, great people. You sit around, you talk BS, you figure it out. And he does a great job. So
hail season is coming up, man. And those people in Nebraska, Iowa.
Oh my God!
God bless them. Hopefully everybody's okay.
Yeah, praying for all that. That's horrible.
They should be calling Dent Heads because there's a lot of disaster down there.
A lot of hail damage. That's what
she said. A lot of hail damage, and it's coming up for us. So get ready.
But hey, everybody, thanks for listening. We can be heard on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and all other platforms where you get your podcasts. Please like, subscribe, and tell a friend about us. Last of all, just like I learned growing up on the East Side, work hard. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Tell it like it is. Help your neighbors. Try to be a good person and contribute in a positive way. Smile, laugh, and most of all, don't be a dick.
3 long days, some I don't know. It takes a little more than what you show, and that's yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.